Live from 5 every Monday and Wednesday from 5 to 7. Radio GIPA 94.3. Okay, it's just after 6 o'clock. You're listening to Radio GIPA 94.3 FM. I'm Joseph Alexander Smith, and we are live from 5, as we are every single Monday and Wednesday here from the Radio GIPA studio in Sololaki, Tbilisi, Georgia. And I'm joined in the studio this evening by two guests from, let's say, the other Georgia. The Georgia that you always get when you Google Georgia. Your Georgia comes up first. I'm joined by an associate professor and professor from the Department of Public Administration and Policy at the University of Georgia, UGA, by Dr. Jean Brewer and by Dr. Edward Caloso. Thank you very, very much for coming in today.
Thank you.
And the reason we have invited you into the studio today is to find out about a very interesting partnership between JIPA, the Georgian Institute of Public Affairs, and the university where you are teaching, specifically in the School of Government and in programs relating to public administration, public policy, and local government, which are very important courses here in Georgia. We have many people in local government and government who've studied on these courses, so I'm very interested to find out your perspective on this partnership between the two universities. So why don't I start by asking you what that partnership looks like, Edward?
Oh, well, good. The partnership goes back many years, I think to the early 2000s. And the Institute of Public Affairs, JIPA, had been really started back, I think, in the late 90s. It was getting off the ground. And people that were involved were from the American National Academy of Public Administration. But after their funding ran out, there was one key individual named Dan Durning at the University of Georgia back home who secured USAID funding and came back and helped to build the program at JIPA. And then that's when I first got involved. And I think I came here first in 2004 to offer classes in public management. And, I've been coming back since then. So I've been here a number of times, almost, not every other year, but quite often, and always enjoy it.
So what does this what does it look like practically, the cooperation between the two universities? Apart from you mentioned teaching there, are there any other ways? How else does this partnership manifest itself?
My first visit was around 2005, and for me it's always been a combination of teaching classes for students who mostly went into government work here in Georgia, and giving advice on curriculum development or program development for JIPA. So it's always been a combination of the two.
One aspect to this, I guess, is that JIPA is a newer university in Georgia. Like you said, it started in the late 90s and has been developing since then. How do you see the role of this partnership in terms of helping Georgia to make this transition from a kind of Soviet or post-Soviet model of education to a more Western model of education?
Well, I think the one thing that we've helped bring is a more Western approach to the subject matter of public administration and public management, and of higher education in general. As I understand that the Soviet system relied more on sort of legalistic studies and historical studies and so forth. And what we have brought is an approach that's grounded more in social science and the empirical literature that's developed in social science around issues of public management, program evaluation, personnel management, civil service reform, all these kinds of issues that are instrumental to effective governance. And a number of people from our university have been here over the years and have offered these kinds of courses that are, tailored in that fashion. And it's been gratifying to see how many graduates of JIPA and people that we've had in classes now are in important positions in the government here. That's been very nice to see that happen. And of course, even early on, Georgi Margelishvili, right, was the rector at JIPA, and we knew him and worked with him, and of course he's gone on to another job, but and is doing well. But there's these deep connections now between JIPA and members of the parliament and staff and employees, public servants all across the government here. So that's really nice.
Well, actually, I have in my notes here that the Ambassador Ian Kelly actually made a statement that JIPA is one of the best investments that the US has ever made in the country. And I guess what you're saying, that's kind of been borne out over the years by the number of JIPA graduates who have then gone on to work in government.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. I would agree with that. I never saw the Soviet model in action here. My first visit was, of course, after that. I have seen it in Russia and worked with a Russian Academy of Public Administration. So assuming that it was a similar model, this is very different. And I do a lot of international work, so I'm familiar with more than just the United States. And I would say that this is still a different hybrid sort of approach in Georgia, but one that seems very effective.
Yeah. I wonder what you would say to somebody who you were trying to encourage to come to JIPA. You have a good oversight of what the courses are like, and you have many years of experience of seeing them develop and improve. What would you say to someone who was thinking about maybe studying at JIPA?
Well, I would encourage them to come. It's a very solid program, and the curriculum is sound. And the instruction is sound. They have excellent instructors, whether they are coming from the U.S. or from other countries, or whether they're from Georgia. That's another development that has occurred that I've been very happy about, is that how many of the faculty from Georgia now have been taking on increasingly important roles in the delivery of core classes, and have done just an extraordinary job. So I think it's a great school with a solid foundation and good instruction. So you couldn't go wrong.
Excellent. Well, I'm just going to have to ask you one more question. I'm wondering what the summer is like in the other Georgia. We're sweltering here in Tbilisi. I just wondered if you could give us a picture of what things are like back home for you.
It's hot, and more humid than here. So it's actually, I think, probably a good deal more uncomfortable back home. But I'll find out soon. I'm going back tomorrow. So
you'd agree?
I think so. And I'm going back later, so.
Well, good luck with that, because I wouldn't wish anything worse than this on anybody else. I'm absolutely sweltering wherever I go in the city at the moment. But thank you. I'd like to thank you for coming in, Jean Brewer and Edward Kello from the University of Georgia, the other Georgia, right, as I have been calling it. Thank you very much for coming in and for sharing your perspectives on a very interesting participation between our two institutions. That's all I have time for right now. I'm going to be back just after 7 o'clock. To sum up on the talk of the day, and also to share with you our Georgian vocabulary item of the day, which I'm sure you're very excited about. But until then, stay with us here on Radio GIPA 94.3 FM. Live from 5 every Monday and Wednesday from 5 to 7. Radio GIPA 94.3. Jean, I know that you have experience doing international work in other countries, other institutions, other universities, and I wonder how you think that JIPA compares to some of those other universities that you've worked with in other parts of the world.
Yes, I think two things are worth noting. One is that JIPA is an important institution for training government officials and for public policy, something very similar to a Cambridge or an Oxford in the UK or a Harvard Kennedy School in the United States. In other words, it's the most prestigious and recognized institution for training people for government work. And I think a second important difference, just based on international comparisons that I've made, is that JIPA really seems to be an institution with a heart. People who are deeply committed to their country and concerned about the public interest and the common good. And this is apparent from the students, the staff at JIPA, and others.
I think they'll be very happy to hear that, indeed. Thank you. Radio GIPA 94.3.